Welcome to the deep dive, everyone. Imagine you're staring at a truly messy, ill-defined problem. You know, the kind that keeps you up at night, where the solution isn't just hidden, but the problem itself feels like, well, a moving target. How do you even begin to untangle something like that? Today, we're going to give you three powerful lenses that can help transform that seemingly impossible challenge into a clear, human-centered solution. We're talking about design thinking, participatory design, and behavioral sciences.
Three really interconnected pillars.
Exactly. Think of this as your shortcut, maybe, to understanding a methodology that helps untangle those really knotty challenges of our modern world. We've pulled insights from some comprehensive lecture notes, articles from interactiondesign.org, and even a handbook on participatory design.
Good stuff there.
Yeah, our mission is really just to extract the most important nuggets, give you those aha moments, hopefully, and leave you feeling well-informed without, the usual information overload. Okay, let's unpack this.
Let's do it.
So let's start with design thinking. At its core, it's more than just steps, right? It's kind of a profound shift in how we approach problem solving.
Definitely. It's this idea that instead of spending ages trying to define the perfect problem up front,
Right.
you should maybe quickly build imperfect solutions just to learn what the real problem might actually be.
Huh. So embracing uncertainty almost like a tool.
Exactly. Like a superpower,
Yeah.
even. And what's fascinating is precisely that iterative nature you mentioned. Design thinking isn't a straight line, not at all.
Okay.
It's about seeking to truly understand the user, daring to challenge our own initial assumptions, and often redefining the problem itself as you go.
Right, finding those alternative strategies.
Yeah, solutions that might not be instantly apparent. Take that marking automation for programming modules case study at SLIT FOC, that's the Faculty of Computing at SLIT.
Okay.
Initially, the common assumption was just, oh, automating this is impossible, full stop.
Yeah, sounds familiar.
But through design thinking, they reframed it. They redefined the problem to, how can we supplement human markers with automation?
That redefinition is so crucial. It moves it from an impossible either
Exactly.
to a more workable, how can we enhance? And this is where the real power kicks in, right? It helps us question everything. The problem, our assumptions, even the implications of potential solutions.
And it's not just sitting around thinking abstractly. It involves ongoing experimentation,
Right.
sketching, prototyping, testing, constantly trying out new concepts.
So those initial impossible walls often come from just seeing the problem too narrowly.
I think so, yeah. For that SSLIT FOC team, redefining it, let them explore strategies like data-driven marking automation using ML machine learning, that is.
Right.
And even less obvious things, like defining a programming language just to define test cases. It's that proactive questioning rather than just reacting that really changes the game.
Okay, so let's talk about the structure people often hear about, these 5 phases.
Ah, yes, the 5 phases or stages. It's really important to stress, like right up front, these aren't always sequential steps.
Not a checklist.
Definitely not a checklist. They don't have to follow a specific order. They can often happen in parallel, and they definitely repeat iteratively. Think of them more as modes or maybe areas of focus.
Okay, modes, like different mindsets you shift into.
Precisely. Different mindsets you need for different parts of an innovative project rather than some rigid step-by-step process.
That nonlinear thing feels really important. It means you're not just ticking boxes, but really living in these different approaches.
Yeah.
So bearing that in mind, how do you usually kick things off? With that first mode, empathize.
Yeah, empathize. And this is really the heart of human-centered design. It's the why. It's not just, asking users what they want. It's about observing what they actually do, maybe uncovering needs they can't even articulate, needs they don't even realize they have.
Okay, so digging deeper than just surveys.
Much deeper. This often leads to insights that can completely flip your initial assumptions. Our sources suggest things like consulting experts, sure, but also observing users to understand their experiences or motivations.
Even immersing yourself in their environment.
Absolutely. Getting into their physical space to gain a deeper personal understanding of the issues involved. It's about consciously setting aside your own assumptions to truly understand their world.
Okay, so empathy gathers all this rich, sometimes unspoken information. How does that then feed into the next mode, define? How do you get from that broad understanding to a sharp problem statement?
Well, that's exactly what define is for. You take all that qualitative data you gather during empathize and you start to analyze it, synthesize it. You're looking for patterns, insights.
Need to get a sense of it all.
Exactly. To clarify the core problems you've identified, the goal is to frame the problem as a clear, human-centered problem statement.
Got it. Like in the marking automation case study.
Perfect example. The initial vague dissatisfaction, maybe marking takes too long, transformed through define into something much more precise. Increase in workload for the lecturer in charge, decrease in workload for the instructor, decrease in overall workload for the faculty of computing.
Ah, so it frames it directly from the perspective of the people involved. Makes it actionable.
Precisely. Actionable and human-centered.
Okay, so now you've got this crystal clear, human-centered problem statement. You're ready to start generating solutions. What does the ideate phase look like when you have such a specific target?
Right, so idea isn't just, let's brainstorm. It's about really pushing past the obvious solutions, embracing divergence.
Thinking outside the box?
Yeah, genuinely. Using that defined problem and the user needs you uncovered, like in the case study, they needed minimal extra workload for the LIC, minimal learning curve, not too technical, bug-free, easy to upgrade.
Okay, those become the design targets.
They become the targets, exactly. And you use techniques to force unconventional thinking. Things like brainwrite, scamper, even worst possible idea.
Worst possible idea. How does that help?
Well, it sounds silly, but it deliberately breaks your mental blocks. By thinking about the absolute worst way to set up the problem, you often uncover hidden assumptions about what's actually necessary or possible.
Huh, interesting.
For the SLIT project, ideas popped up like data-driven marking automation, using static code analyzers, or even defining marking schemes in a unit test style. The key here is quantity first. Get as many ideas out as possible before you start judging or filtering them.
Okay, so after this explosion of ideas and ideate, we move into making things tangible with prototype. What's the biggest trap people fall into here? And what makes a prototype really effective?
Oh, the biggest mistake is definitely trying to make the prototype perfect or too polished.
Right, getting bogged down in details too early.
Exactly. This is an experimental phase. The goal is to produce several inexpensive, scaled-down versions of the product, or maybe just specific features. You're not building the final thing. You're investigating the solutions you generated during ideate.
So quick and dirty is okay.
Quick and dirty is often best. These prototypes can be shared and tested quickly within the team, maybe with other departments or a small group of users. For the marking automation, they prototyped the unit test style marking and the file-based input-output programming language ideas.
And they got users involved at this stage too.
Yeah, they got sample submissions, sample marks, did demos for the module teams. By doing this quickly and cheaply, you get a much clearer view of constraints, how real users might actually behave, think, feel, all without a huge investment.
Makes sense. And that leads us right into test. Now, you said this whole thing is iterative. How do the results from this final stage actually loop back and potentially change everything? What kind of stuff comes up?
Yeah, test is where designers rigorously evaluate those prototypes, but it's profoundly iterative, like you said. The results are never really the end point.
Okay.
They're often used to redefine problems, deepen your understanding of the users. They can absolutely send you right back to empathize.
Well, okay. So what came up in the case study during testing?
Oh, all sorts of practical things. Concerns like, will this run on Linux? Questions about maintenance and support, submissions not being in the required format.
Classic stuff.
Totally. What if we need to change marks later? And the big one, what about student submissions that just don't compile?
Huh. Always.
These findings didn't just lead to bug fixes. They fed back into the whole process, refining their understanding. And ultimately, the final design that emerged this domain-specific language for lecturers, a compiler, a web UI that was truly forged through all that iterative feedback. It wasn't the first idea or even the third.
That's such a great illustration of the whole cycle. Okay, so if design thinking is the how, the iterative approach, who should actually be at the table shaping these solutions? That feels like where participatory design comes in.
Absolutely. It fits beautifully. Participatory design isn't just helpful. It can be indispensable. It's a process where, developers, business folks, and crucially, the actual users all work together collaboratively to design the solution.
So getting users actively involved.
Actively involved to ensure the final product genuinely meets their needs and, importantly, is usable by them in their context.
What's really different about this compared to, say, just doing user interviews?
I think a key differentiator is this concept of mutual learning. It's a two-way street. Designers try to learn the realities of the user's situation, their day-to-day, while the users work to articulate what they're trying to achieve, their goals, and they also learn about the technology, what's possible, what the trade-offs are.
So it's a partnership.
It really is. Our source gives a great example of a participatory team. 9 developers, 1 department head, 6 lecturers in charge from different modules, 2 assistant lecturers who do a lot of the marking, and 1 instructor.
Wow, that's a diverse group.
Very diverse, all bringing unique perspectives, and you see the impact. In that marking project, maybe a lecturer initially insists on some complex report format because that's what they're used to.
Right.
But through participatory sessions, working together, maybe sketching interfaces, they might quickly realize, oh, actually, a simple dashboard with real-time feedback is way more useful and intuitive. That direct user involvement can course-correct assumptions incredibly quickly.
That is powerful. It really makes you think, doesn't it? How often do we just assume we know what people need without really deeply involving them? So what are the big upsides, the benefits of doing this? And are there downsides? Does it ever fall short?
The benefits are pretty substantial, yeah. It dramatically improves the knowledge that the system is built on because you're getting it straight from the source.
Yeah.
It helps users develop realistic expectations about what the tech can and can't do. It can significantly reduce resistance to change later on.
Because they were part of building it.
Exactly. They have ownership.
Yeah.
And it empowers people to participate in decisions that actually affect their work. Users can be involved in different ways too, not always sitting in every design meeting.
No. Like how?
Well, maybe through documented studies like seeing how a similar system was used elsewhere, or as a key source for data gathering, questionnaires, observations, interviews, collecting artifacts like those student submissions, or most directly as actual members of the design team.
And the designer's role shifts a bit then.
It does. In participatory design, designers often act more like facilitators or orchestrators. They coordinate activities, facilitate discussions, prepare materials, maybe advocate for certain solutions based on the input.
Okay. But you mentioned limitations.
Right, it's not a silver bullet. That kind of close collaboration often requires physical proximity or at least really good remote tools, and it definitely takes time and resources.
Yeah, I can see that.
You also need to make sure you're involving the right users, people who are really representative. And sometimes users might not feel comfortable articulating what they want or need, or they might get disappointed if their specific vision isn't fully realized in the end.
And it doesn't fit every context.
Not perfectly, no. A lot of the core ideas came from workplace systems. If you're designing, say, a consumer app used by millions or a game just for fun, you can't have every single user on the design team. The ideology needs to adapt. Direct, ongoing collaboration with every end user just isn't always practical.
That's a really crucial point about adapting the approach based on context. Okay, so we've got the process with design thinking and the team with participatory design. But underpinning all of this, we're designing for humans. What fundamental insights does the third piece, behavioral sciences, bring to the table? How does it ensure our designs actually connect?
Right. Behavioral sciences, it's basically the interdisciplinary study of human behaviors. It pulls from fields like behavioral economics, cognitive neuroscience, sociology, anthropology. It's always evolving.
So why is that necessary for design? Isn't user research enough?
It's necessary because our behaviors, what we actually do, are the result of all the conscious and, importantly, non-conscious decisions we make constantly.
Ah, the non-conscious part.
Exactly. Human decision-making and the emotional responses tied to it are a huge focus of research in behavioral sciences. Understanding that is critical when you're designing anything for humans, especially technology interfaces.
You mentioned decision-making, and a key part of that is cognition. Can you unpack that a bit? For listeners, what's the practical impact of understanding cognition when we're designing? It's more than just thinking, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Cognition isn't just this vague idea of acquiring knowledge through thought, experience, and senses. For designers, practically speaking, it's about understanding how specific mental processes like attention, perception, memory, learning, even reading and problem solving create very real bottlenecks when people interact with systems.
Bottlenecks, like
Okay.
limits on what we can process.
Exactly. Cognitive limitations. Good design, informed by behavioral science, aims to reduce the cognitive load required for each interaction, make it more intuitive, less taxing, less prone to errors.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Think about confirmation bias. It's our natural human tendency to look for, interpret, and favor information that confirms what we already believe.
Right, we see what we expect to see.
Precisely. Behavioral science highlights this bias. So during user testing, it warns designers. Don't just look for users validating your prototype. Actively seek out the disconcerting evidence. Where does it fail? Where is it confusing? Why?
Ah, so it pushes you to challenge your own design more rigorously.
Yes. That seemingly small shift, prompted by understanding that bias, can lead to much more robust and user-friendly solutions. Behavioral science gives us knowledge about what users can and, maybe more importantly, cannot reasonably be expected to do mentally. It lets us design with our brains, not fight against them.
Okay, that really ties it all together. So as we wrap up this deep dive into the design mindset, it feels like we've seen how these three powerful components really work in concert.
They complement each other.
Yeah, you've got design thinking giving us that iterative, solution-focused approach. Empathize, define, ideate, prototype, type, test.
Yeah.
But as a flexible framework for discovery, not rigid steps.
Right.
Then participatory design, making sure users aren't just data points, but active partners in the process.
Right.
Building solutions that really fit their needs because they help shape them.
Crucial.
And finally, behavioral sciences, providing that foundational understanding of how we actually tick our psychology, our cognition-ensuring designs align with how people truly think, feel, and behave, making things intuitive and reducing that friction.
And connecting this to the bigger picture, it's clear these aren't just, academic buzzwords. They're practical frameworks. You can use them to create more effective, more user-friendly, more impactful products and solutions in almost any field, really. Which brings up, I think, an important question for you, our listener, to maybe mull over. How might understanding these integrated approaches, really empathizing deeply, involving your stakeholders, and recognizing these nuances of human behavior, how might that change the way you approach problem solving in your own work or even just daily life, beyond just designing tech products?
That's a great question.
Mm.
What stands out from this deep dive that you might apply, maybe even today?
Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining us on the deep dive. We really hope this exploration gives you some new lenses, some new tools to view and maybe start solving the challenges around you.